Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and X-Men Dark Phoenix is a movie that is still happening, even if its marketing team decides that the best way to promote this movie is to release trailers in the middle of the damn night and blatantly reveal the death of a main character. Sure, look, I gotta say, despite this movie's repeated release delays, like it's now coming out June 7th instead of a couple weeks ago, and the X-Men's likely reboot when Fox and Marvel officially merge, and how easy it is to forget that the X-Men movie universe even exists outside of Deadpool, like it didn't all get wiped away during one of those many time travel rewrites. Despite all that, after this trailer, I think Dark Phoenix has a good chance to be a surprise hit. I don't know, I'm just liking what I'm seeing. So I'm gonna break down this trailer shot for shot for all the details that you might have overlooked, and spoiler warning in case I accidentally predicted anything too right and I ruin your life. Let's get started.
Why did you make me do that?
Look at me. Focus on my voice.
Okay, the trailer opens quite dramatically with Jean Grey sitting alone in the rain, sobbing to some other presence inside herself. Poor Sophie Turner, she just can't get a role that gets her out of the elements. Dark Phoenix is being adapted from the Dark Phoenix saga of the X-Men comics, one of the most popular storylines from that whole franchise. You may remember the attempt to adapt it in X3, The Last Stand. Actually, this Dark Phoenix movie looks like it's trying to be kind of a do-over of that movie. Many of the story beats and set pieces look pretty similar. And both movies are produced by longtime X-Men producer Simon Kinberg, who is directing this one. Essentially, Jean Grey is an Omega-level mutant, among the most powerful of all mutants. She has telepathy and telekinesis. As a young girl, a cosmic entity known as the Phoenix Force discovered her, seeking a powerful host body to bind to, and the Phoenix Force took over Jean when she was an adult, while she was on a mission in space, unleashing her power in violent and evil ways. And here we see what looks like one of those tantrums. The X-Men confront her in this neighborhood. Now, in the first trailer, we learn that this is Red Hook, New York, which I found interesting because that's a town mentioned in the very first episode of the X-Men series Legion on FX.
After what happened in Red Hook, I'd say that's an understatement.
This mystery of the Red Hook incident never really came up again in Legion, but maybe this nasty episode with Phoenix is what they were all referring to, and we see how deadly this gets in the next clip.
I'm not giving up on you, Jean.
She was my friend.
You're my family, Jean. Stop, no matter what.
Stop.
Okay, so this is pretty wild. As I speculated in my last trailer breakdown, Mystique, Jennifer Lawrence, will die as a result of Jean Grey's Phoenix Force. Simon Kinberg actually confirmed this in an interview, but I'm curious how exactly. Like, superhero characters don't die when they're just blown back. Maybe she'll get impaled on that American flagpole. So yeah, it's Mystique's funeral engraved that we see in the other footage, and it's this tragedy that turns the X-Men against each other and divides them into factions, half wanting to kill Jean Grey and the Phoenix Force, and half wanting to protect her. And I totally understand Kinberg's dramatic narrative reasons to kill off Jennifer Lawrence's character in this movie, but why show us it right away in this trailer? I suppose, yeah, trailers are getting more and more spoilery these days, especially when psychos like me analyze the crap out of them, and it's hard to keep leaks from getting out, but I have a theory that maybe not all is what it seems in this footage. Maybe there's some twist, some secret that's still being hidden from us. I have a thought on that I'll get to later, but before I move on, I just gotta point out this detail of the Winnipeg Horvey. This is set in 1992, so I just love this Spaceballs clunker showing up, and if you look behind it, you can see a real fantasy jet, the X-Men's Blackbird on the street behind it. Next clip.
Look. You're special, Jean. And if you stop fighting that force inside you, if you embrace it.
Okay, this section shows us Jessica Chastain's character. Now, this trailer was released to coincide with Chastain's promo appearance on Jimmy Fallon, where I guess she was pretty tight-lipped about her character, but she revealed a couple things.
You want to move stuff with your mind, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the antagonist. Miss Jean Grey has a power that I want to harness for my own uses. I get to beat up a lot of X-Men in the movie.
You do?
Maybe kill some?
But I swear, I can't say anything. Yeah, so we don't know exactly who she is, only that this otherworldly antagonist has been described in the past as a shapeshifter and has been credited with the name Smith. Kinberg has described her as an amalgam of a couple different characters and iterations of characters over the span of the different tellings of the Dark Phoenix story that have taken place. So that could mean Chastain, Smith, whatever, is Lilandra, Empress of the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar is another alien empire in the Marvel Comics, along with the Kree and the Skrull, and they're tied in with the Phoenix Force story, they actually put her on trial. They try to depower the Phoenix Force. So she could be Lilandra, or maybe Lilandra's sister, Deathbird. But then there's that shapeshifter description. Maybe that could point to her being a Skrull. Though I don't see this movie wanting to step on Marvel's toes with the way they're depicting the Skrull in Captain Marvel. But when you read into Kinberg and Chastain's descriptions of this character, it's just vague enough to open up another possible theory. Maybe Chastain is a manifestation of the Phoenix Force itself, like some kind of presence living in Jean's mind. Kind of like the Shadow King with Legion, who's also an Omega level mutant, by the way. Notice how this character melts the room around Jean, transforming it to this smoky nebula that gives Jean a glimpse into the wider cosmos. Maybe she slipped her some acid, or maybe she's the Phoenix Force inside her mind, opening her mind to see beyond. So when Chastain says she gets to kill some X-Men, maybe, she was referring to the idea that when Jean goes full Phoenix Force, she fuses with Chastain and lets this older presence take the wheel. Like Sophie Turner will shapeshift into Jessica Chastain, and Chastain is the one to do the killing. And maybe that name, Smith, is a working name used as a nod to Agent Smith from The Matrix, who fuses with hosts in a similar way and uses them to attack enemies. Chew on that while we look closely at this imagery of the space incident that causes Jean's exposure to the Phoenix Force. You can see them coming upon this stranded space shuttle, which appears to be spinning off its axis, surrounded by some particles. And nearby, there's this trippy looking purplish, orangish space fart. So yeah, I'm thinking this is a Phoenix Force, and it lured Jean and the rest out here by attacking this human space shuttle. And we get to see more of this in the next clip.
He will possess the very power of a god.
Okay, here we see how the space fart surges through the space shuttle, causes an explosion with the X-Men caught in the blast, and all of this Phoenix Force rushes into Jean. And go through this frame by frame, she straight up disappears. That's just empty space and fuselage. I don't see Jean. Where'd she go? Maybe this temporary symbiosis with the cosmic force popped her through a wormhole, or maybe plucked her at a time so the two of them could get to know each other. I don't know. It just feels very 2001, both the Stanley Kubrick movie and the 2000s Brett Ratner classic. And as we jump back to this Red Hook tragedy with Charles Xavier and Scott Summers looking in shock, we move on once again.
She'll kill us all. Tell me how we fix this, Charles. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
Okay, after some of those funeral shots that we saw in the first trailer, we see Charles and Magneto in the X-Mansion, which kind of feels similar to that scene in The Last Stand with Charles and Jean, except instead of her killing Charles, here she's going after Eric Lyncher with the room around them crumbling apart. Now, this is a huge deal that she can F up his helmet like this, because Magneto's helmet is specifically designed to block telepathic and telekinetic powers. But now Jean is crushing it like that dude at Lids who tried to squeeze this into a small. I just love this detail, the pointed corner of the helmet bending up toward his eye, about to stab it. As Nick Fury would tell you, losing an eye is what you get for trusting someone. And again, this might not be Jean doing the crushing here. In the promo reel released with Chastain's appearance on Fallon, you can see Chastain's character standing beside her, watching intently as if the two are in sync. And with Charles and Scott and Cerebro here, I could watch this intense barking between James McAvoy and Ty Sheridan on loop.
Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
Let's move on.
And what they don't understand, what they fear, and what they fear, we seek to destroy.
This is your fault, Charles.
I tried to protect her.
Okay, after Chastain's character and Jean complete each other's cliches, we see the best thing to come out of these recent X-Men movies. Quicksilver, Peter Maximoff. If you look behind him, you can see this Bishop power truck, which could be a nod to the X-Men mutant, Bishop. And we see this very cool slow motion attack as he hops across exploding debris to try to reach Jean. And you can see this lightning bolt, maybe this is after she moved one of Storm's lightning attacks out of the way. And notice how among all this debris is a solitary boot. Could this be one of the boots that Mystique was just wearing in the previous shots? Holy sh! Did Jean Grey blow Mystique to bits but leave her boots behind? That would be awesome. But as I said before, I think there could be more to this scene that's being hidden from us. Like, the only reason I could see the studio being justified with revealing Mystique's death in this moment is that if this scene also featured another shocking death. And both Chastain and Kinberg have said multiple X-Men will die. Looking at all this footage that we've seen from this movie, I don't see Evan Peters' Quicksilver really showing up in any of the other sequences. So what if both Mystique and Quicksilver die. Kind of like a Walking Dead Abraham and Glenn Cabo deal. Look, folks, it's probably the end of this version of the X-Men in the movies, so there's really nothing stopping the studio from killing all of these darlings. So, you know, just walk it off and move on.
I'm scared. When I lose control, bad things happen to people I love.
The girl dies.
She's still Jean. We can still help her.
Okay, here's some soldiers raid a crashed train car in the middle of the street. That could be from the train sequence that we see later. And then a quick shot of Charles wheeling through the X-Mansion, which looks messy and abandoned. Now, it could be possible that all the students have fled out of fear of Jean Grey. This would definitely not be the teacher anyone wants for homeroom. And we see some shots of Nightcrawler, and then a shot of Magneto saying that Jean needs to die. Now, behind Magneto is a newcomer. This is confirmed to be Selene, who in the comics is sort of a psychic vampire associated with the Hellfire Club. She can psionically drain your life force. She shows up on the recently released poster of the movie along with another newcomer. Kinberg hasn't confirmed exactly who this is yet. Some people think it's Red Lotus, who's a martial arts expert, also associated with the Hellfire Club. And then there's this interesting shot of Jean floating in space as the Phoenix Force flows into her. And notice how it's repairing torn pieces of her clothes, skin tissue, seemingly empowering her, maybe reinforcing her to allow her to survive in space. And next there's a shot of the X-Men on this prison train car. You can see the cuffs on the walls there as Hank leaps overhead and throws this dude. Very cool. On to the next clip.
Sometimes you want to believe people are something that they are not. By the time you realize who they are, it's too late.
Okay, here Magneto activates these machine guns, empties these clips at someone in heels. None of the bullets have any effect. I'm assuming this is Chastain's character. Again, it could be the Phoenix Force having taken over Sophie Turner, Jean Grey, and is now shapeshifted into the form of Chastain. I know it's kind of a crazy theory, it's just the actresses do look like they could be sisters. Then the shot of Storm using lightning to zap a bunch of soldiers off this train, and Scott trying to save Jean from space fart, but this evil look says it all. Actually, that dark shape deep in the background behind Jean could be Chastain's presence once again. That is, if she's still wearing that black dress. If this is her, this could be more evidence that her character is a presence haunting Jean's mind, like one of those ghosts in The Haunting of Hill House. But now let's move on to the final clip.
She's coming.
Cool, we got ourselves a train heist. In this case, heisting the whole damn train. The X-Men and Magneto's team are both imprisoned by these guards. Look at the printing on their uniforms. MCU. Awesome, the X-Men are being kidnapped and sent over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got them, boys. Nah. The MCU in this context is probably Mutant Containment Unit, something like that. It also looks as though the mutants are wearing those mutant inhibitor collars, similar to the ones in Deadpool 2. Wade and Russell wear them in the icebox. Though I guess Dark Phoenix is set in 1992, maybe that could explain the different models. Look, here's my question for you guys. I don't imagine many of you have been dying to see Dark Phoenix. Like, we don't mind that this movie exists, but we're kind of just like, okay. But there's still a lot of talent behind this movie. It could still be really good. And there's a couple movies coming out in 2019 that I feel fit in that category. So of all the arguably less anticipated comic book movies coming this year, which do you think will be the biggest surprise hit? Dark Phoenix, The New Mutants, or Joker? Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Erik Voss, and subscribe to this channel, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for watching, and see you next time when Dark Phoenix's release date gets pushed back again to 2024.